Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. Do you guys want to talk about that new Backrooms movie trailer? This trailer has been popping up on YouTube as an ad. I always skip it. I just automatically skip any ad on YouTube. And then I've seen it show up in my feed. I haven't seen it yet, so I'd like to watch it for the first time and share my thoughts on the idea of making a mainstream movie based on the Backrooms. And I find this interesting, not because I'm interested in the Backrooms or I'm invested in it, but it's interesting to take something that is a piece of media that is community driven and to turn that into a Hollywood product, a mainstream product that is basically hyper refined and turned into a product for the masses. Whereas the Backrooms, similar to the Slender Man, this is something that is made by the community. People online contribute to that. And to create a Hollywood product out of it, a mainstream product, goes against the spirit and the primary appeal of this community driven thing. And so I find that interesting. I'd like to discuss that a little further after taking a look at the trailer. Let's go ahead and watch this. I'm just going to make sure that the audio is turned off here. I don't know. YouTube's legal thing is I don't know. Okay, let's take a look. So there is Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire. I like that. Okay. This is a furniture shop. Yeah, the Ottoman is a little footrest thing. I get it. That is funny. I'm just gonna take a look at details that don't matter. You know, we have cars here. These cars, the models look like things that you would see in the 80s and 90s, not saying that this movie is set. Ooh, it would be very, it'd be so funny if I made myself too small. I'm gonna go for the visual gag here. I'm gonna go for visual comedy of making myself way, way, way too small. So here I am. Hi everyone. I'm too small, and I think that's very funny. So I don't know anything about this movie. I don't actually know. I've seen the original uh Backrooms video from Kane Pixels. The only thing I know about this is that I believe Kane Pixels is involved with this, but I don't actually know any of the behind the scenes or anything like that. So based on the cars here, I'm just going to assume that maybe the story takes place in the 80s or 90s, and it's much easier to tell horror stories set in the 80s and 90s. It's we could discuss that at a later point, but basically the closer we are to modern uh, our baseline level of reality and our modern level of technology, it's much harder to do horror because we live in a very cynical, mean-spirited culture right now, and technology demystifies things that would generally leave room for doubt or to misconstrue something. And so horror that is set in modern days is not, it's harder to make effective horror set in modern days here. So this is a furniture shop with, I believe this is an employee that, unfortunately, it's very quiet in the shop, and the employee looks like they have to dress. This is it's very typical of themed businesses in the 80s and 90s where employees had to dress up a particular way for a theme for their business. I kind of like that. That's pretty fun here. Uh, I kind of like this gag of these all of these different couches take the center stage in this shop here. And then the focal point is the steering wheel here. Now I haven't seen anything in terms of technology that would give away what era this is in, whether it's modern or not. If it was set in the modern day, possibly we would see modern widescreens, but I don't see anything like that. So I'm going to keep an eye out. I'm hyper focused on uh, just anything that would give away what time period this is in, what decades. So here we go. We have an employee. Or is that a dummy? Oh, that's a dummy. I see now. I'm a dummy for thinking that was an employee, but that is a dummy. On my screen, I have two screens to look at here. I was actually looking at the very, very smaller screen. So now I'm going to look ahead. So A24 is the studio. Okay. Let's just see what's going on here. Okay. I do I'm a big fan of horror. Massive, massive horror movie fan. I will watch this because I do enjoy horror, but I'm not particularly invested. I really like that visual. You know, when you refer to a horror gag, we don't use the word gag the same way that you would in terms of comedy. You know, there's a comedy gag and there's a horror gag. I love this kind of horror gag here where you can kind of see something. And what is so effective with horror is uncertainty of letting a character or the audience believe something or think something but not have all of the information. Let them fill in the blanks. And that I hope that is something that we'll see in this kind of movie because that's a concept that works extremely effectively and the Backrooms really benefits from that kind of uncertainty. So we have a character, he clips through the wall. What I like about the wallpaper here is that there is a degree of grunginess to the texture. It isn't just a flat yellow wallpaper. And if you have read the short story, The Yellow Wallpaper, sound off in the comments. That was the first piece of media that really scared me as a kid. I read The Yellow Wallpaper, I don't know, second grade, third grade. And it was horrifying, and it stuck with me ever since. And sound off in the comments if you enjoyed The Yellow Wallpaper. So we have a character. Let's see here. This furniture, if I were to try to place what decade, will we have things from the 70s? A lot of this furniture is very 70s. Okay, I'll say that. 60s had very vibrant poppy colors, but we also have to consider that this is the mise en scène as they are framing this environment a particular way. One detail I quite like is the lamp here is turned on and illuminating the ceiling there, a little bit of splash. So it is turned on. Why is the lamp turned on? How is it still turned on? Details like that I enjoy. Okay. This piece of furniture here, you have the two cabinets that feels very late 70s, early 80s. A lot of browns and yellows to go with this environment, but yeah, that bumpiness, that I like that. It adds unevenness to the walls. Again, I'm not super familiar with all of the content that people have created, and I'm just going to focus on this trailer here. Ooh, I do like this. I like that there are a couple overhead lights that are turned off, and it adds this empty space. You're in an environment that feels like it's kind of being washed out by dim light, or it's not really dim, you know, it's just sort of this warm, dull light, and then you have this dark space here, very ominous to look at a space like that and to go into that. And it's not that scary. Obviously, they need to ramp up. It's not that scary because you can see light on the other side of it, but it makes that space feel threatening. I quite like that. This May. Okay, so we are currently in April. I enjoy the architecture here for spaces that don't logically seem to make sense. We look at this here and you wonder, what is that for? Why is it like that? Why is there such a small space? You know, if it had come out just a bit more, if it had come out farther, if it had extended away from this wall farther, it would make a little bit more sense. But the fact that it is so small, pressed up against the corner, it makes you wonder, why is that there? And that's good horror. But I think that also draws in the appeal of liminal horror, liminal aesthetic, the liminal spaces. Why is it like that? Let's see, we have a couple chairs. Chair, chair, chair. Something I'm noticing on the walls, there are brown stripes along the walls. I've noticed that earlier in the trailer as well. I'm not sure if that is in the original or if that's something that people added to the lore. I don't know how much of the community lore would be implemented in this, or if it's just strictly Kane Pixel's vision for the Backrooms. So let's continue on and see. There's a Potts sign, but they've turned the letters around. Okay, so he's out of the Backrooms now. So is he able to freely traverse going in and out of the Backrooms, but each time he enters the Backrooms, it's harder to exit? This the colors of the curtains here. We don't see a computer on the desk. I am to believe that this would not be a modern office. All of the brown hints to me that this is set in the late 70s, early 80s. If it was the mid to late 80s, we would see a bit more in terms of color as fashion went a little bit more outlandish. That short cut shirt is feels very mid to late 80s, but these pants feel very 90s. So, okay, the Potts sign has been knocked down. So they're bringing people in now, right? That looks like they've brought some things, and I just want to take a look. Oh, he's been drawing a map. Oh, that's enjoyable. I like that. He's drawing a map. He's mapping this place out. Let's go ahead and take a look at. It's a little bit hard to tell. This is an HD, but are there stairs? That may be stairs there. I like these little half walls here, these dividers. I do like that as well. It feels like there's no point to having that there, you know, the little divider. Okay. I'm gonna guess this is set maybe between 78 and 82. That's my guess here. But then, you're going to get someone that will go on IMDb on the goofs, and they'll say, this plant is actually a hybrid, and this hybrid wasn't actually created or discovered or documented until 2018. So that's a goof. This plant shouldn't be in this office, which I have seen people leave goof things like that on IMDb. Whoa, hold on. I would like to pause. And let me just get an eyeball on what... Can we get a freeze frame on that? Can we go frame by frame here? Okay. The window within. Overcome barriers and take action. Break through the pain. That's all we get to see. Okay. All right. That camera. Oh, see, that's a very late 80s camera. This thing here. Uh... At least that's what I think I see. Okay. Interlacing on the handheld cameras. Interlacing. Let's see if I could sort of place the technology. They use interlacing to make it more clear that this is from the perspective of characters in context of the work here. So they just want to drive home the message that this is on a home video camera. He brought a backpack. He's gonna stay. Let's see. So this is the shop that we are in. Okay. Ooh, was that a TV there? That may be a TV. That looks like furniture still. Okay, never mind. That is not a television. That is like a little glass over the shelf there. Oh, that's a body. That is a person body. Okay. Oh, and a Christmas tree with bodies halfway out of the ground are those mannequins. Oh, oh yeah. I like this horror gag. I like that a lot. Check out this gag. Yeah, I like that. Christmas tree in the middle. It's the only thing in the room. What I really like about this room here is this section of the room where that wall sort of comes forward a bit, and then there's just this recess for no reason. That's a kind of liminal horror I enjoy. That contributes to liminal horror. It makes you kind of, even if you don't actively say, why is it like that, your brain is thinking that, okay, oh, no, 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 he's going deeper in. Okay, so there's no lights in here. There's lights in at the hall. But is it one of those situations where it keeps extending and they can't get to the end? If that is a Mario 64 staircase situation, let's step back a wee bit here. What do we see here? Okay, this just looks like debris. Could be clothes, laundry. That is a light fixture. But in the shot that we are looking at here, this is framed as a wall, but this is the ceiling. So now the characters are viewing this environment from a different perspective. This is the wall. This is the ceiling. But the environment's been rotated some degrees. Pretty neat. This is fun. I like that. Okay, we have traversing the environment. Well, let's go back a wee bit. Why don't we? Oh, he's climbing up a slope. A film by Kane Parsons. Okay, so Kane is 100% involved with this. Okay, we have a TV tray This looks very late 70s to me, this tray. This light fixture, very, very, actually, this has hints of the 60s as well. This sort of fun experiment with shapes, you know, and we have more fanning out of the lampshade here with these dangly balls, brass, something that's just interesting and eye-catching and vibrant. I like this artwork that this feels very early 80s, that sort of painting that you would have seen in people's houses. Really like the texture on the couch. Very 80s furniture. Okay. I enjoy things like this. You know, why is one chair facing the wall? Why is one facing against? These brown strips are interesting to me. They show up in a way that possibly has meaning, possibly does not. And this is great. Just having this little dark corner in here. This is what visually makes scenes have depth. You have light and you have dark. We've got dark there as we go farther back into the scene. They're opening a panel and they find a backpack. Hold on. What is this here? There appears to be something here that I am not able to discern what that is. We have chairs stacked up. Okay. Now what is this on the ground though? What is that? It looks like spots of light, perhaps? It's a little bit hard to tell what that is. Oh, we have steering wheels that are clipping through the environment, a nice little lamp. Oh, we have a door here. And this is a fun door because it should lead to this room. Yes. We see that this door should lead there, unless it's a small closet, but we don't see any light coming through the bottom of the door. So it adds a sense of discontinuity. Oh, we're upside down. We're really upside down now. Okay. I really like the color palettes they use here. Look, you have that nice soft pink, and then it's complemented by this very mellow, cloudy sky blue. Check out the headboard. Oh, that is so 80s, that headboard. Has that sort of brass or whatever it is, ornamentation coming through like that. Very neat. We don't get things like that anymore. We only have boring stuff these days. Furniture used to be so... Actually, I'm not trying to sound old, but things used to be so much more interesting visually, thematically, creatively. Oh, the headboard matches the one nightstand. Check out those one nightstands. Okay. Actually, only matched the one nightstand. The other nightstand didn't. I'm going to obsess over things that don't matter. No credit needed. Okay, there we go. Now, what are the prices? I just want to see the prices, but I can't get a good, clear pause on what the prices are. What have we got? I believe those might... What is that tape cassette? We have a computer here. Folks, we have a computer, but it's probably fake. These are model computers. But that's what they would have looked like in the 70s and 80s. There may be a model radio there. These are plastic. If you've never been to a furniture shop, they have fake stuff. Ooh, security camera there. Wiring going through. The wiring let us know that there is something through this door. Now, is that a security camera that they've placed in there or one that they've discovered? Okay. Someone's going to analyze this, and it will mean something. Oh, there's something behind him. That's fun. Okay, I don't... Look, I'm kind of old, right? I don't know if this is an Among Us thing. I didn't play Among Us. I'm a little too old. Okay, so the exit point that this character probably is familiar with is no longer there. He is now trapped in the back rooms, and he may no longer exit freely. So this character has drawn what appears to be some kind of doorway. She's got maps, part of the map here. This looks to be fun. This looks fun. Put your hand through it. Put your hand through it. Yeah. So she's marked where she may enter and exit. Ooh. Oh, yeah. That's the kind of gag I like. I like that horror gag right there. This sort of closing in of the walls. You have to squeeze through this tight space. in order to get to the other side. It almost looks like there's sky on the other side, blue sky and clouds. You're following the cable. It's some sort of clue or a hint. It looks like there's unevenness in the wallpaper here, and it feels like it's getting tighter and tighter as you're getting through, but it feels like you should be able to just get through there. No, she can walk abreast. You wouldn't have to turn sideways. If you can walk abreast, it's not that tight of a corridor. Backrooms. Okay. Is that the okay? There's a person. There are tables, chairs, a swimming pool, but it's a solid floor. I really like that. I like that a lot. Okay. This looks so very interesting. I like this way more than I thought I was going to like it, partly because it's a period piece that's set in a not our time period. I thought this I naturally assume movies will be set in our modern time period, and I find our time period extremely boring and also exhausting to think about. And so seeing that this is set in likely the late 70s, early 80s, this looks fantastic to me. This looks so fun. Fun. Fun, 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 fun. I didn't think this was going to be fun. Anyway, I'd like to hear what you guys think about this. I'm not hugely invested in the Backrooms thing. I wasn't, I wasn't into the community, but I understand this is a community media in the way that Slender Man is community media. And I was concerned that something like this would make people feel alienated because people feel some ownership over Slenderman when they contribute via the community. Sort of the SCP. People feel like they have ownership over that, and they contribute to it. And my concern is that if a mainstream Hollywood film like this would alienate people and make them feel like they're not really part of this creative process anymore. So I'm interested in seeing how this plays out and how people who have been part of the Backrooms community, I wonder if those people feel like they're sort of being kicked out of this community a little bit to say that, oh, this is the official Hollywood version of it now, or if people that have been in that community really enjoy this. That's something that was on my mind, and I am looking forward to seeing this. I'm a huge, 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 huge fan of horror, and I really, really like what I've seen here. So I hope that you've enjoyed taking a look at this with me. I'll find something else that's fun to talk about for the next episode. If you've got a request, just let me know. I also launched my new game. Put some footage on the screen here. This is The Hero of Destiny Was Killed by the Final Boss. It's available on Steam and the Switch eShop. In this game, the main character dies, the Hero of Destiny dies, and you have to play as 50 NPCs. You can build a party of 8 characters at a time, and all of the characters are NPCs. They've got sticks and rocks and abilities that are basically useless on their own, but if you build a party of 8, you might be able to find a way to get through the final dungeon and beat the final boss. Anyway, that's my new game. Take care, everyone. I'll see you around. Be well.